Hi, welcome to BariNation, where we support the bariatric community with humor, humility, and honesty.
You've just tuned into a podcast that welcomes you into a community, a resource center, and a safe place that powers your journey towards personal wellness.
Our goal is you leave us today feeling hopeful, inspired, and ready to live your best bariatric life.
Hey friends, it's April. In today's podcast episode, you are going to hear a 10-minute segment from an amazing conversation I recently had with Rodolfo Alvarez. Rodolfo is a mindset expert in the BariNation membership community, and he leads classes every month that help us really dive deep into this work of weight loss surgery. Today's conversation is all about our response when we are having conversations with people that we have relationships with. Sometimes they might say things that are a little bit triggering, and we respond with a fight or flight response. And in today's segment, Rodolfo is going to explain to us why that happens and what we could do to respond in a different way so that our communication is effective and we are maintaining or improving the relationships that we have. If this is something that you know you'd like to improve on, join the BariNation membership community. Take the classes with Rodolfo in real time or watch the recordings in our on-demand library. You can even attend his meetups every other week where he is going to be focusing on leading people through this process of effective communication. You can learn more about our community at barination.mn.co. All right, enjoy this segment and I'll see you in BariNation soon. How can I show up in a conversation in a way that is constructive? That is a skill that not a lot of people have. And it's a skill that we need to learn as patients. Because without constructive conversations, our relationships will go nowhere, or they will go in a direction that we don't want them to go. And then we feel lost and hopeless, and we feel like we've done something wrong. When in fact, true or not true, there could have been a different pathway we could have taken with those relationships when it comes to the conversations that we choose to have.
100%. And going back to what we discussed before, the beginning would be ask yourself, am I ready to have a constructive conversation?
Yeah.
When we say constructive conversation, like this is my definition, okay? But we're talking about a conversation in which I don't want to change the other person's mind. I just know that they are who they are. Nothing's going to be changed, but I'm going to express something that I think it's important for me to express in a way that hopefully take me where I want to be. Right? So for example, what I'm thinking is kind of like, if you're ready emotionally to have the conversation, you could start with something like, you know what, Peter, I understand that you disagree with the choice that I made. I see you. And I know that you have evidence that tells you that. But I don't want to talk about here who is right or wrong. I don't want to make a point that like the surgery works. What I just want to communicate is that it will be helpful for me as your sister that you do these things for me. A, B, C, or D. If you have opinions on the surgery, please don't say those opinions in front of me. If you see that I'm not drinking water, like, please remind me. And I get that you disagree with this, but this is what I would appreciate from you today. And you just leave it.
It's a completely different approach.
Which is not the approach we're used to, right? Like
yes.
And it's not the approach that we saw last year before the election. Like people are kind of like, I'm going to collect the most evidence that I have to prove that you're wrong, and then I'm going to shift your mind, and I'm going to make you vote for the other candidate. I don't know if anyone has been successful with that approach, like changing, like honestly, I think it doesn't work because actually we have this self-defense mechanism, which is the fight or flight response. And when something is perceived as a threat, we just react, right? And we protect ourselves. And the way we protect ourselves is collecting evidence that what we do works and we're fine and we're right. So that's why I wouldn't suggest that approach.
It has not worked in the past. it's not going to work in the future, which is why we are so excited that you are leading this class in BariNation, right? Because that is at the heart of what you're going to be teaching, right? How do we change how we have conversations in a way that is constructive and productive for us? It's not about coming with that bag of evidence. It's about acknowledging where the other person is at, not attempting to necessarily change them or their views, but just to be able to tell them, I hear you. I understand where you're at. Here's what I would like to ask from you. And at that point, it's an invitation for them to either join you, or it's an opportunity for you to kind of set some boundaries and say, okay, I understand that you can't do that then. So here's how things are going to look right on my end going forward. And it has nothing to do with my love for you. I still love you the same, but this is what I'm going to do in response to kind of what you are able or willing to give in this relationship that we have together.
And you know what is challenging in those moments? To really listen what's going on with the other person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the automatic response, but I'm Peter, okay? So you heard my speech about why the surgery doesn't work. Your internal thought could be, my brother doesn't support me, he judges me, he's not there for me, he's stubborn. Like, that could be your interpretation. But by doing that, then you are not listening.
Mm-hmm.
You're just judging the things that Peter is saying. Listening is actually connected to being able to identify the points that the person is making. And if you listen, maybe Peter disagrees with the surgery. And underneath of that, there might be another fear, which could be the fear of something happening to you in terms of your health.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, he loves you so much that this is the way that he's trying to correct course. So if you are able to understand that, I think that helps to start the conversation, because it's kind of like, okay, we disagree. I know that you have been trying to do this to help me, but actually, that's not how I need to be helped today. This is how I need to be helped. And you transition the conversation. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking all the times that I have heard in the community, like people that say that they have friends and now the friends are kind of like, oh, we used to go out and drink and have fun, and now you're not doing that. Like, and then they're like, oh, they're judging me for my new life, right? But we need to like stop and listen. What's underneath of that comment? I have a friend that is missing doing something with me. Maybe that person misses the friendship, the connection, the camaraderie. Is that the word? Camaraderie?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. And this is the way that they know how to communicate that. And then if I listen, I can come up with a proposal and a strategy to move forward in the relationship, which could be, for example, you know what? Yes, today that's not aligned with my habits, unfortunately. But I love you. You are my friend. I want us to protect our relationship. How are we going to create those spaces of camaraderie? And you transition the conversation. But we don't do that.
Yeah. No, we don't listen. We instantly feel judged. And then we look to insulate ourselves, to protect ourselves from that hurt and pain. But really, if we just took some more time or learned how to listen more effectively, we could actually find a pathway forward that sustains the relationship and perhaps even makes it stronger.
100%. And there's a lot of mindfulness that could be applied to listening powerfully. When we are in conversations, typically we have this inner voice that is talking, judging, criticizing, like telling you what to do, etc. And you kind of serve that, right? And maybe you put that aside and just focus on what the person is saying.
Mm-hmm.
In the case of Peter, it's like, he's not aligned with this. Period. Nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that he doesn't love you. He doesn't care. Like, no.
Mm-hmm.
He was not aligned.
And we attach things that aren't necessarily true to what other people say for all kinds of different reasons. And it really sounds like the heart of this work is learning to detach from the things that we think they're saying and really focus on what they are saying and what is truthful within that conversation, that relationship, right? At no point did, in this fictitious example, right? At no point he didn't say he didn't love me, he didn't care about me. What he was saying was, right, I don't necessarily understand this and I'm worried and I'm this and I'm that. But okay. But he didn't say any of those things that I was thinking up here.
Yes, exactly. And also the other thing is that I feel that sometimes people have a hard time with disagreement.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
They don't like people disagreeing. And there's nothing wrong with that. Allow Peter to disagree.
Yes.
And we want Peter to also like allowing you to have different points of view, because as humans, we all have different points of view.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. The point is how, given that we have different points of view, we can find common grounds and move forward.
That wraps up another empowering episode of the BariNation Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, keep the conversation going by joining the BariNation membership community, where you can attend live support events, access on-demand resources, and find a caring community.
Join us at barination.mn.co. If you found this podcast valuable, help us produce it by becoming a $5 monthly supporter at BariNationPodcast.com.
And just remember, at the end of the day, you've got this, we've got you, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.